The morning air hangs cold and wet over the English countryside. June 5, 1944. A sea of olive drab stretches across the rolling hills. 20,000 American soldiers arranged in tight formation, their breath rising in white clouds against the gray English sky. They have been waiting for over an hour, restless, anxious. Most of them have never seen combat. Within weeks, many of them will be dead. A convoy of vehicles approaches through the mud. Military police motorcycles lead the procession. Then comes the armored car. Then the command vehicle bearing the 3 silver stars of a lieutenant general. The soldiers crane their necks. They have heard the rumors. They have heard the legends. Now they are about to meet the man himself. General George Smith Patton, Jr., steps onto the wooden platform that has been erected for this occasion. He is dressed in immaculate riding breeches and polished cavalry boots that gleam even in the overcast light. His helmet bears the 3 stars. His famous ivory-handled pistols hang at his hips. He surveys the assembled troops with the cold, predatory eyes of a man who has spent his entire life preparing for this moment. The soldiers fall silent, 20,000 men, not a whisper. Patton waits, he lets the silence build, then he speaks. "Be seated." The rustle of movement, then stillness again. What follows will become the most famous and most controversial address in American military history. A speech so raw, so profane, so brutally honest that the United States War Department will classify it for decades. A speech that will prepare these young men not for the glory of war, but for its savage, blood-soaked reality. A speech built upon a single, unshakable truth. No bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. Section 1. The General Nobody Wanted. 6 months earlier, January 1944, General Dwight D. Eisenhower sits behind his desk at SHAEF headquarters in London, rubbing his temples. The invasion of France, the largest amphibious assault in human history, is scheduled for spring. The liberation of Europe depends upon its success, and Eisenhower has a problem. George Patton, the most brilliant tactical commander in the United States Army, the man who conquered Sicily faster than anyone thought possible, the general whose very name strikes fear into the German high command. Also, the man who slapped 2 shell-shocked soldiers in field hospitals and called them cowards. The man whose mouth has created more diplomatic incidents than enemy artillery. The man the newspapers call old blood and guts, with equal parts admiration and horror. He's a liability, Chief of Staff Walter Bedell Smith argues. The press wants his head, Congress wants answers, we should send him home. Eisenhower shakes his head. George is the best tank commander we have, possibly the best in the world. He slapped a soldier, Ike, 2 soldiers. I know what he did. Eisenhower's voice is flat. I also know what he's capable of doing to the Germans. The decision is made. Patton will not command the initial invasion force. That honor goes to Omar Bradley, steady, careful, methodical Bradley, but Patton will be held in reserve. He will be given command of the 3rd United States Army, and when the time comes, when the beachheads are secured and the breakout begins, Patton will be unleashed. First, however, he must wait, and George Patton does not wait well. Section 2. The Phantom Army. March 1944. The deception begins. While the real invasion force assembles in southern England, Patton is sent east to the shores of Dover, directly across the English Channel from Pas-de-Calais. He is given command of the 1st United States Army Group, a formidable force of tanks, artillery, and infantry. Except none of it exists. FUSAG is a phantom, inflatable tanks, wooden aircraft, radio operators broadcasting fake communications into the ether, an elaborate theatrical production designed to convince German intelligence that the main invasion will strike Calais, not Normandy. And at its center, George Patton, the one general the Germans fear above all others. In Berlin, German intelligence officers study the reconnaissance photographs. They track the radio traffic. They note Patton's presence. The Americans would never waste Patton on a diversion. Oberst Alexis von Rohn reports to Wehrmacht High Command. He is their best. He will lead their main attack. The deception works perfectly. Hitler holds back his panzer reserves, waiting for Patton's Phantom Army to strike Calais, waiting for a blow that will never come. But Patton chafes at his role. He is not an actor. He is a warrior. And while Bradley's men prepare to storm the beaches, Patton paces like a caged lion. They've got me playing games, he writes in his diary, while the real war starts without me. He will not be silent much longer. Section 3. 20,000 men. May 31, 1944. The tour begin. Patton has been ordered to visit every major formation of the Third Army before the invasion, to inspect them, to evaluate them, to prepare them. What High Command does not fully anticipate is how he will prepare them. He arrives at the 1st Assembly Area near Stauerport-on-Severn. Several thousand soldiers from the 6th Armored Division stand in formation, young faces, clean uniforms, men who have trained for months, years, and who have never experienced the chaos of actual combat. Patton mounts the platform, he removes his helmet, and he begins to speak in a voice that carries across the assembled ranks like artillery fire. Men, this stuff that some sources sling around about America wanting out of this war, not wanting to fight, is a crock of bullshit. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Officers exchange glances. This is not the language of official military addresses. Americans love to fight, traditionally. All real Americans love the sting and clash of battle. He pauses, lets the words sink in. You are here today for 3 reasons. First, because you are here to defend your homes and your loved ones. Second, you are here for your own self-respect, because you would not want to be anywhere else. Third, you are here because you are real men, and all real men like to fight. The words crash over them like waves, not inspiration, not idealism, something rawer, something primal. When you were kids, you all admired the champion marble player, the fastest runner, the toughest boxer, the big league ball players, and the all-American football players. Americans love a winner. Americans will not tolerate a loser. He lets that phrase hang in the air. Americans love a winner. Over the following days, Patton will deliver this same speech, with variations, additions, embellishments, to every major unit of the Third Army. Nearly every soldier under his command will hear it, and none of them will ever forget it. Section 4, The Philosophy of Violence. June 2, 1944, a field near Pova Hall, England, another vast assembly of troops, another platform, another confrontation with the truth. Patton has been refining his message, sharpening it. The invasion is imminent now. These men will soon be crossing the channel. Some of them will not return. He stands before them, hands on hips, ivory pistols gleaming. Now, I want you to remember that no bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. The words strike like bullets. This is not what they expected, not the noble rhetoric of sacrifice, not the patriotic hymns of glory. This is something else entirely. We're not just going to shoot the bastards. We're going to rip out their living goddamned guts and use them to grease the treads of our tanks. We're going to murder those lousy Hun bastards by the bushel fucking basket. Nervous laughter ripples through the ranks. Some men are shocked. Others are exhilarated. All of them are paying attention. Patton continues. His voice rises and falls with practiced theatrical intensity. He has studied this. The ancient Romans understood it. The Mongol Khans understood it. War is not won by defense. War is not won by caution. I don't want any messages saying, I am holding my position. We are not holding a goddamned thing. Let the Germans do that. We are advancing constantly, and we are not interested in holding on to anything except the enemy's balls. He makes a gripping gesture with his hand. The crowd erupts. We're going to twist his balls and kick the living shit out of him all of the time. We're going to go through him like crap through a goose. The profanity is deliberate. The vulgarity is calculated. Patton knows exactly what he is doing. He is not speaking to officers. He is not speaking to politicians. He is speaking to young men from farms and factories, from small towns and big cities, young men who have never killed anyone, who have never watched a friend die, who have no idea what awaits them. He is giving them permission to be violent, permission to be aggressive, permission to survive by any means necessary. Section 5, The Truth About Fear. The speeches continue, June 3rd, June 4th, different locations, different units, the same unflinching message. Patton addresses their fear directly. Sure, we want to go home. We want this war over with. The quickest way to get it over with is to go get the bastards who started it. The quicker they are whipped, the quicker we can go home. He pauses, studies their faces. The shortest way home is through Berlin and Tokyo. He tells them about death, not abstractly, not philosophically, bluntly. Death must not be feared. Death in time comes to all men. Yes, every man is scared in his first battle. If he says he's not, he's a liar. Some men are cowards, but they fight the same as the brave men, or they get the hell slammed out of them watching men fight who are just as scared as they are. He tells them about cowardice, about what happens to men who run. The real hero is the man who fights even though he is scared. Some men get over their fright in a minute under fire. For some, it takes an hour. For some, it takes days. But a real man will never let his fear of death overpower his honor, his sense of duty to his country, and his innate manhood. He tells them about leadership, about their officers, about what he expects. Battle is the most magnificent competition in which a human being can indulge. It brings out all that is best, and it removes all that is base. And then always he returns to his central thesis, the thesis that will become the philosophical cornerstone of the Third Army. Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans despise cowards. Americans play to win all of the time. Section 6. The View from Berlin. German Intelligence Headquarters, Berlin, June 1944. Generaloberst Alfred Jodl stands before a map of Western Europe, tracing the coastline with his finger. The invasion is coming. Everyone knows it. The question is where. Rommel believes Normandy, he reports to Hitler. He wants the panzer reserves moved forward to the beaches. Hitler shakes his head. Patton is at Calais. The Allied main effort will strike there. If Patton is commanding a real force. He is, Hitler's voice is certain. The Americans would not waste their best commander on a feint. Patton is their most dangerous general. They will use him for the decisive blow. This belief, this obsession with Patton, will prove catastrophic for the German war effort. Even after the Normandy landings begin on June 6, Hitler will hold back his reserves, waiting, watching. Waiting for Patton. In Berlin, Wehrmacht planners study everything they can find about the American general, his tactics in North Africa, his lightning campaign through Sicily, his aggressive, relentless style of armored warfare. He does not fight like other American generals, one analyst notes. He fights like a German, like a panzer commander, speed, aggression, encirclement. They are right to be afraid. Section 7. The Killing Instruction. June 5, 1944, the final address, the eve of D-Day. Tomorrow, the largest armada in human history will cross the English Channel. Tomorrow, American soldiers will storm the beaches of Normandy. Tomorrow, the liberation of Europe will begin. Patton will not be with them, not yet, but his men will follow in the weeks to come, and when they enter combat, they will do so with his words ringing in their ears. He stands before his final audience of the tour. His voice is hoarse now from days of speaking, but his intensity has not diminished. There is one great thing that you men will all be able to say after this war is over and you are home once again. You may be thankful that 20 years from now, when you are sitting by the fireplace with your grandson on your knee, and he asks you what you did in the Great World War II, you won't have to cough, shift him to the other knee and say, "Well, your granddaddy shoveled shit in Louisiana." The men roar with laughter. No, sir, you can look him straight in the eye and say, "Son, your granddaddy rode with the Great Third Army and a son of a goddamn bitch named Georgie Patton." The cheering is thunderous. Caps fly into the air. 20,000 men screaming, stomping, released from months of tension and uncertainty. But Patton is not finished. He raises his hand for silence. "All right now, you sons of bitches, you know how I feel. Now let's cut the crap and get the hell out of here." He steps down from the platform. The speech is over. The war is about to begin. Section 8. The Wait. June 6, 1944, D-Day. The invasion begins without Patton. He spends the day at his headquarters, listening to radio reports, chain-smoking, packing. Bradley's men are fighting and dying on Omaha Beach. Hedgerow country awaits beyond, and George Patton, the greatest armored commander of his generation, sits idle in England. "I'm consumed with impotent rage," he writes in his diary that night. Days pass, weeks. The Normandy beachhead expands slowly, too slowly. Bradley's forces grind forward through the bocage, dense hedgerow country where every field becomes a fortress, every road an ambush. German resistance stiffens, the breakout stalls. By mid-July, the Allied timetable is in shambles. The breakout was supposed to have occurred weeks ago. Paris was supposed to be liberated by now. Instead, American soldiers are dying by the hundreds for a few hundred yards of Norman farmland. High Command makes its decision. The Third Army will be activated on August 1st. Patton will finally be unleashed. But first, Operation Cobra. Section 9. Breakout. July 25, 1944. Operation Cobra begins. Over 2,000 Allied aircraft carpet-bomb German positions near St. Lo. The destruction is apocalyptic. Entire German units are obliterated, craters 15 feet deep, trenches collapsed, communications severed. The American ground assault begins immediately after. This time, there is no hedgerow fighting. The German lines shatter. The path is open. And waiting just behind the front, coiled, restless, ready, is the Third Army. August 1, 1944, the Third Army officially becomes operational. Patton is given command of 4 corps, the VII Corps, the XV Corps, the XII Corps, and the XX Corps, over 300,000 men, hundreds of tanks, thousands of vehicles, the largest and most powerful armored force ever assembled under American command. His orders from Bradley: advance south, then swing east toward Paris. Patton studies the map, his eyes gleam. To hell with that, he tells his staff, we're going all the way to Germany. The advance begins, and what happens next defies all conventional military logic. Third Army moves 30 miles the first day, 40 miles the second, 50 miles the third. The Germans cannot retreat fast enough. Entire divisions are encircled, supply lines collapse, communications break down, resistance dissolves. We're not going to stop, Patton orders his commanders. We're not going to consolidate. We're not going to wait for the infantry to catch up. We're going to keep moving until we run out of gas or we hit Berlin. They do not hit Berlin, but they do run out of gas. Section 10, The Impossible Decision. August 28, 1944, 3rd Army Headquarters, Chalon-sur-Marne, France. Patton slams his fist on the table. The maps shake, the coffee cups rattle. What do you mean we're not getting fuel? Supply priority has been shifted to Montgomery's forces in the north, his G4 logistics officer reports. The Red Ball Express can't support both advances simultaneously. Gotta admit, Patton's face is crimson. We're 60 miles from the German border. The Krauts are running. Give me fuel and I'll be in Berlin in 10 days. But the decision has been made above his head. Eisenhower has chosen a broad front strategy. Resources will be distributed evenly. Patton's lightning advance must slow. The fuel runs dry. The Third Army, which has advanced nearly 600 miles in just 3 weeks, grinds to a halt. Not from German resistance, but from lack of fuel. Patton will call it the greatest mistake of the war. If Ike had given me the supplies, he will later tell his staff, we would have ended this war in 1944. Maybe, maybe not. What is certain, the delay allows the Germans to regroup, to reinforce, to prepare the Siegfried Line. The war that could have ended in autumn will drag on through another brutal winter. Section 11, The Legacy. What did Patton's speech accomplish? Ask the veterans. Decades later, the men who survived the war still remember, not just the words, the feeling, the sense of liberation, the permission to be aggressive, the understanding that survival meant killing, not dying. He told us the truth, one Third Army veteran would recall in 1990. Nobody else did. They gave us patriotic speeches about sacrifice and duty. Patton told us to rip their guts out. That stayed with me. I was terrified before that speech, another veteran said in a 1985 interview. Afterward, I was still terrified, but I was angry too. He made us angry, and anger is better than fear in combat. Historians have debated the speech's significance for decades. Some dismiss it as mere theatrics, a profane pep talk with no strategic value. Others see it as a masterwork of leadership psychology. Patton understood something that most commanders didn't, military historian Martin Blumenson wrote. He understood that men in combat need permission to be violent. They need to be freed from civilian morality. Patton gave them that freedom. General Omar Bradley, Patton's superior and rival, offered a more measured assessment. George was a performer, but he was also the best tactical commander I ever saw. His men would follow him anywhere. That speech was part of the reason. The speech itself remained classified for years after the war, too profane for public consumption, too brutal for the sanitized version of history that post-war America preferred. But copies circulated among veterans, stories passed from father to son, and in 1970, the speech reached its widest audience through an unexpected medium, cinema. George C. Scott's portrayal of Patton delivering the speech before an enormous American flag, in full theatrical glory, opened the film Patton and became one of the most iconic scenes in movie history. It won Scott an Academy Award. It introduced a new generation to Patton's philosophy of war. And it proved, once again, that Americans love a winner. The morning air hangs cold and wet over the English countryside. June 5, 1944. 20,000 American soldiers stand in formation, listening to a general who does not speak of glory or sacrifice or noble purpose. He speaks of killing, of winning, of survival. No bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. These young men, farm boys and factory workers, students and salesmen, do not yet know what awaits them. The hedgerows of Normandy, the frozen forests of the Ardennes, the shattered cities of Germany, many of them will not survive to see victory. But those who do will carry these words with them for the rest of their lives. Not words of comfort, not words of reassurance. Words of truth. Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. George Patton dies in December 1945, months after Germany's surrender, in an automobile accident near Mannheim. He never gets his victory parade. He never writes his memoirs. He never sees how history will judge him. But his words survive. His philosophy survives. His understanding of what it takes to forge men into warriors, brutal, aggressive, relentless warriors, survives. And every year, somewhere in the world, a young soldier preparing for combat hears those words for the first time. No bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. Patton's truth, the truth they tried to bury. The truth that made the Third Army into a killing machine. The truth that won the war.